Anton Jones, AntonDeNnard.com, ANTONDENNARD. As you see, working on the last minute 2 weeks before the fashion show, 1 week before New York. So getting together the last minute ideas, putting together styles for the runway. Don't forget the live streaming at Flying Solo, FLYING SOLO NYC, Flying Solo NYC. Live streaming between 10 to 4 Eastern time. That's 7 to 1 Pacific time on the website. So please watch the live stream fashion show, New York Fashion Week. Like I said, I'm got pretty much of the ideas that I want to put down on the runway. Just finishing up styling, see what kind of styles I want to put out there, which bags I want to put out there, because I got a lot of different combinations. You know, at this point in time, I only get so many models. So with that being said, I only get so many models, so I'm working with, I got to condense everything down. So yeah, it's been a long process, long journey, but I'm glad to get this far. You know what I'm saying? This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning and the next step for Anton Dennard. You know, always prepared for clients, prepared for department stores. A lot of the fashion that you see is really fall 23-24. With that being said, if you want it sooner, it can be done. So don't worry about dates. And if you like something, we can get it for you. Like I said, it takes sometimes it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, just depending on the product. But yeah, so you're gonna see the clutches, 4-in-1 bag. 4-in-1 bag, you can put on the belt, crossbody, clutch it, shoulder bag it, however you want to do it. 4-in-1 bag is gonna be on the runway also. Get ready for that. Had to get the boots in, black and white boots for the women's. The women's got the platforms are back, black and white platforms. You'll see those on the runway. So just getting ready and prepared. It's just a beautiful thing, beautiful experience to be a part of this. So it's been a long journey. Journey hasn't ended. Still in the midst of it. Every journey has its challenges, you know. Every journey has its challenges. Not everything is perfect. Try to get as perfect as possible. You know. Like I said, just playing even with the men's stuff, playing with the final touches. Don't forget to go to the website, AntonDeNnard.com, ANTONDENNARD. Oh, you know what? I'm taking these, so I actually need to keep these on because figure out what kind of pants I want to match up, what kind of pants I want to match up with. mean, it's a lot. I guess I posted a YouTube the other day talking about my story, and part of my story is going back to Phoenix. I was talking about Phoenix College and how I graduated and got my degree and things of that nature. Talked about that and how I got the degree. Then I started working 2 jobs when I was in Phoenix. When I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I started working 2 jobs when I started doing retail. But even with retail, it was tough to do retail, working 2 jobs because I couldn't focus on my craft. But at the end of the day, you gotta work, you gotta pay the bills. So unfortunately, at that point in time, Anton Dennard got kind of put back on the back burner. But even with that being said, it really didn't, because I was learning retail. I think certain things about designers they don't know about retail. Like with retail, you're interacting with the customer. You're with the customer. You're talking to the customer, what they like, what they don't like, what fits, what don't fit, what products are selling, what is not selling. At that, you hear what, even in your one store, they ask it about a certain brand that you don't carry, and it's like, okay, if everybody keep asking about the brand, well, what's so hot about this brand? So you start looking and researching and understanding what are the hot brands and what people are asking for. Just in case, you got the Anton Dennard jeans, 7-pocket denim, got the Anton Dennard on the cuff, embroidery. It's funny when people talk about logos. Oh, you got so many logos. I said, nah, you look at my clothes. I got logos on certain things. I don't have logos all over my clothing. But yeah, but some brands that's acceptable. But sometimes when it's my brand, it's not acceptable. I'm like, it's a balance. It's a balance between logos and then the design. Like, I got this particular design with this young lady. See, as you see, there's no, I know it's a little off subject, but there's no logos, but there's my Anton Dennard cufflinks with the logo. So back to Anton Dennard, like, you learn retail, he gaining that retail experience. And it's interesting and beautiful. You meet people, meet customers, and throughout the years, you grow from that experience. And what that experience did was, I ended up getting promoted to Las Vegas to the department. I was in lady shoes, and I got department 2 in the company that I was in. I got promoted to assistant manager. And I moved to Las Vegas. So now you learn not just with the retail side, you learn management. You learn how to manage people. You learn how to deal with numbers and sales goals and planning and the yearly planning. So you're looking at things from a number of different perspective. At the end of the day, I never lose my creativity, but what it also did was, when you're in a corporate environment, you learn how to style yourself. You learn how to style. So not only that I became a designer, I became a salesperson, a salesman. I became a manager, and I became a stylist. So all these things, because I had to style myself to go to work, because when I go to work, I want to be dressed. So you wear certain suits, and at that time, it was more about suits and ties. So you get dressed. So, with that being said, after that position, I would end up going back to sales. ended up going back to sales. Because I think it was two things. A part of that was in that arena, going in towards management at that particular company wasn't suitable for me. And I think my store manager knew that and put me back on the sales floor. Um, Also, I enjoy selling more than managing. Um, Especially it's tough to be an assistant manager because it's kind of like, it's tough when if the protocol is not protocol. Usually if you have an assistant manager, the associate goes to the assistant manager before they go to the manager. But if the associate is already comfortable with the manager, what they need to go to the assistant for. So, but that's just what it is. That's just the nature of the beast. So with that being said, I ended up going to a different company. I went to a high-end retail in Las Vegas, and ended up being a sales associate again. But this time, have the opportunity to sell throughout the whole store, which just opens up my versatility as a salesperson and a stylist. So now I get to style women's, man. It's not just shoes, even though my base is shoes, I get to sell everything. But another thing about it that is being in high-end retail, you learn trends. You know, when you're in a secondary retail market, when you're in a secondary store, when it comes to retail, they're more of a trend follower. Like they kind of the secondary brands that all the top brands are selling this, or the top luxury brands are selling this. So the secondary brands say, oh, let's do something similar for the mass who can afford it. You know, when the luxury retail is like, okay, this is for a certain status. You know, regular retail is like, okay, this is for the masses. So you go from the masses to the luxury retail. Now the luxury retail, they showing you one of a kind products. Oh, this we only make this much of this much of that, and that's the avenue that I went into. Like, this is beautiful. Like luxury retail is like perfect for me because I'm not a person who just makes just 20,000 of something. Like, no, this is for the first 10 people. This might be for the first 100 people. This might be for the first 1,000 people. But only making so much, you know what I'm saying? Then we go on to something else. You know, we're not gonna be doing, you know, don't get me wrong, it's a balance in that because you still want to have that classic product that people can get to when it's available. But also you want to make specialty pieces for only a certain amount of people. They're like, okay, I want something different from everybody else, and that's the beauty of luxury retail. And the other part of luxury retail I learned is how to adjust. Because in the beginning, I remember when I first started doing fashion design, I wanted to do tailoring. I wanted to be a tailor. I wanted to do suits. I wanted to do men's suits. That's it. Like, I want to do men's suits. That's what I want to do. And just do suits. You know what I'm saying? That's what I grew up in. But then over time, you wonder, like, a lot of times with doing suits, it's like, you're kind of taking away all the other design elements of which you have in yourself. Like you just do one thing. Like, what else? I got so many creative ideas in me. Like, how can I just do suits? That's one thing you learn when I was in luxury retail, because I remember suits started dying down, and then sportswear became so strong, especially in the men's department. Sports became super strong. It wasn't about the lace up or the driver. It was all about, oh, what kind of sneakers you got on. And that's the culture we're in now, a lot of the sneaker culture, which is cool when I bring that element. But you find during that, and during with that, you find your own element. So with that being said, I end up being in retail and seeing this, but you still have this design element, but you start making pretty good money in sales. It's like you still got it in the back of your mind, but it hasn't, you ain't, it's like, okay, that part of me is done. That part of me done. I did that. Why should I pursue that when I'm making like great money doing sales? But something hit me. Um, One thing is my wife started. I remember she started making clothes again because she's into fashion, and she started making clothes again, and she started making bags, and I started looking at her, and I'm like, dang, watching her, I still had the itch, but I had the itch, but I didn't scratch it yet. But I had the itch, I'm like, dang, I miss doing that. Like, but how am I have time when you got a wife, family, kids, a kid, my daughter? Like, how you gonna have time to, put together a brand or even make something? So yeah. So like, with that being said, like, I was in I was in the store, and I think we got some new shipments in, and there's one brand. They did a sleeveless. They did this sleeveless jacket. It was black, and I looked at it and I said, I was so upset. I was so upset because I designed that 10 years ago. I think this is around 20, I want to say 2012, 2013. If you go through my sketchbook, I got a sketchbook. I'll show them one day. I did a sleeveless jacket, and I did it in like '02 in my sketchbook. And it was so frustrating because you got this high-end designer did something that I did 10 years ago. And it just told me, like, it just got me in the mind, like, why not me? And I used to tell my wife, why not us? Because if they're doing the same thing I'm doing, so what else is in my head, in my creative nature, in my creative space that I can do that I can do? And I looked at that thing. I remember I went home. I had two double-breasted suits. I went home. Now, mind you, I got a background in sewing. I ended up taking it. I cut the sleeves off. I cut the sleeve off both of them. Refinished the edges, so it could look as smooth as possible. Like, you wouldn't have known that it used to be a suit. An actual double-breasted suit. I cut the sleeves off, and for a year, I rocked that sleeveless jacket. I had an all black one. I had a pinstripe. I probably wore them twice a week. I was so far into it. It was twice a week. And during that time, my wife is getting deep into her bags, and I just start taking that time, when they was sleep, or if they was doing their thing, I was taking my time, and I started sketching. And I had a sewing machine. You know what I'm saying? I had me a sewing machine, and I started using my sewing machine. I ended up doing, I bought my wife a leather sewing machine. I bought me an industrial sewing machine. So I started getting back into, put out my same patterns I did. I had the same patterns I did when I was in college. But what I did was, back then that was the baggy pants era. So I was a baggy pants era. So I narrowed everything. So everything was more slimmer, tapered, instead of baggy and wide. So I slimmered and tapered everything. I end up doing samples, got fabric, and then I just started doing mad research on I started doing research on samples. People finding somebody who can do some samples for me. But I'm not saying I'm not the greatest sewer, but I'm not the greatest sewer. I'm not gonna admit I'm the greatest sewer. But I sewed enough to on Anton Dennard jeans. Let's get Anton Dennard. Anton Dennard denim. But I sewed enough to put a sample together, so I started putting these samples together, and then I found a company who can do my samples, you know, to make it a little more professional than how I do it. So I did that, and I kept doing it, got them back, learned how to basically learn how to put tech packs together and work with manufacturers, because a lot of times as a fashion designer, you're gonna have to learn how to work with manufacturers. So at the end of the day, if you wanna have product, you can't do it all yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to just do everything yourself and think you're gonna be a global brand if you're doing everything yourself. That's just crazy if you think like that. More Anton Dennard jeans. You see them? Some of these gonna be on the runway, some of them not gonna be on the runway, but they are still gonna be available to you. So I'm saying so I found a local stateside manufacturer, and they gave me my prototypes. Cause I like these seven pocket jeans. The prototypes was done by me. I didn't go to nobody else. I didn't find. I sold the prototypes. I got the material. I bought the material. I bought the material. I cut it, sewed it, had my patterns, and I made my prototypes. And once I made my prototypes, I sent it to, and then later on sent it to a manufacturer to get it for production. Sleeveless jackets, I found a company that can make my sleeveless jackets, you know. And one thing about school, it taught me the basics of fashion, because one thing about you trying to start a fashion line, I'm not talking, no disrespect, but I'm not talking about making t-shirts. I'm talking about making actual clothing. I'm talking about pants, shirts, jackets, sports coats, dresses. Like, you have to know some basic stuff if you want to design, because if you don't know basics, how you gonna communicate with a manufacturer? So with the basic stuff, I had the basics down. So I ended up finding manufacturers to build my stuff. And one thing what also helped me was helping my wife finding hardware for her brand. You know what I'm saying? I started looking for hardware, and just like the corporate, every designer that you love, they got to get their hardware, and how they get their hardware for their bags, and they got to get their hardware for their bags, and you know, because one thing that makes your bag is the hardware. You love your hardware. So doing that, focus, research, and then at the end of the day, this is what 7 years of work. After 2016, this is what you get. 7 years later, you're ready for the runway. It hasn't been an easy process. It's been a financial commitment. So you gotta have your red saddlebag. I got the hardware. So even with the saddlebags, I did the prototypes, and one day I'll send you a video on my prototypes, because when I say prototype, when I say it's a rough sketch, it's rough. You know what I'm saying? It's rough, but this is like a prototype for the bags. Like, I mean, this is the final piece of the bag. I have to search for this hardware. Got the hardware, got the Anton Dennard on the zippers. It's just a beautiful piece, man. I think if you want this piece now, it's available on the website. Go to AntonDennard.com. It's available. You can get this before it gets on the runway. I got one available for you. You know, so like even with this is the stuff I'm playing with to go on the website. Like, you know, put this on the red saddle bag, or also have a red tote. Most likely with this, I'm gonna do the red tote because I want y'all to see that. You know, I've been promoting the saddle bag, but I also want y'all to see the totes that I'm bringing. You know, because I know some people ain't ready for the saddle bag, but some people say, okay, I might not do the saddle bag, but you know, a lot of people got the tote. You know, for men's or women's, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's unisex. Man can rock it, women can rock it. You know, whatever you prefer. You know. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, at my core, if anybody says, well, okay, what's your core? It's at first it's gonna be menswear because that's who I am. You know, I'm a man, so that's gonna always be my part of my core is menswear. You know, because when I first started, I designed for me. I know what other designers went through. They said you go to the stores, you can't find your look. You have to create it yourself. That's what I did. I created my look. Part of my look is what I call the uniform. You get one thing about the runway, you're gonna see the taste of my uniform is the sleeveless jacket, French cuff shirts, two-tone shirt with the tie. My uniform, and the beauty of my uniform is, if you prefer, you can wear jeans. Give it a more casual look. If you want to get more casual, just take off the tie. Have a more casual look. And then if you want to get dressy with it, you do the pants, do the trousers. So yeah, so I just wanted to give y'all not gonna show y'all everything. I want y'all to anticipate the runway. So I'm not gonna show you everything. I just want to give you a sample, give you some of my story. Like I said, I remember somebody asked me in 2016, I did an outfit and I posted it. The gentleman said, when your fashion line coming out? I said, give me 3 years. And in 3 years later, I launched my website, Anton Dennard. You know what I'm saying? 2020, that was the COVID year, so most of that year I just designed, didn't really push anything. But 2021 was basically my year when I started saying, okay, it's time to sell it. And shout out to everybody who purchased Anton Dennard in 2021, because that year, when that date turned, I was determined to sell my product, and I just called, text, and message everybody that I knew to pre-order one of my t-shirts, my Anton Dennard logo tee. And shout out to and I appreciate everybody who did it. But even before I did that, it was a couple great people that bought my ties, bought my shoes, They bought that back in 2020. I don't want to forget about them because they bought my ties when I started doing ties, and I had actual product to sell instead of just prototypes. So, and then 2020, I started selling my T-shirts. I sold a couple of custom suits. I sold my saddlebags. Sold a couple of my saddlebags. And then even this year, man, just a couple of shirts. I'm still doing. Gentleman just bought a pair of boots from me. Got the Anton Dennard boots. You're gonna see that on the runway also. Like I said, I was about to show y'all. I was like, I don't want to give y'all too much because I really want y'all to watch and tune in, live stream on the runway. On the runway. You know the date, February 12th. You know it's Super Bowl Sunday. Before you watch the Super Bowl, watch Anton Dennard flying solo in NYC on the live stream at Flying Solo NYC. Super excited, ready for it. Like I said, I'm doing the last bit of styling, and this week I'm gonna start packing for the show. So just super excited. Just keep in tune in with me, follow me, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all Anton Dennard. If you want to find me, just go to Anton Dennard. ANTONDENNARD. So appreciate it. Thank you for support. Don't forget to tune in February 12th. We out.